Alright, what is up, folks? So, if you're watching this on YouTube, which that might be the only place that this lives, it's a random idea that I have to do kind of these short dialogues, monologues, I think it would be, since it's just me, myself, and I here in the car, and maybe call it the drive. These are just a couple of things that are floating around in my head on my way to the gym. One random thought that I had this morning was thinking about difficulty when it comes to your workouts. And what I'm talking about is very, very often I will release a training program, and folks who are not familiar with doing my training programs will take a look at it and then hit me up and say, hey, this looks a little bit more on the beginner end. I was hoping for something a bit more advanced. This really doesn't look all that difficult. So I'll ask them to kind of help me understand what they're looking at or what they're looking for, excuse me. So help me understand what you're looking for when it comes to difficulty. And usually the response will be, one, there's not enough exercises. So the background that they'll typically have is they were doing workouts that had somewhere from 10, let's say the sweet spot being about 10-ish exercises. I'd say usually actually a bit more on the higher side. I'd say one of the most egregious training programs that I've seen before, I think my client was doing like 14 to 16 exercises. I have to go back and look that up. I will hands down say that is one of the worst training programs that I had ever seen in terms of what it said it was supposed to accomplish and how it was designed. So that's beside the point. So one feedback will be, hey, this doesn't look like it's all that hard, not going to be that difficult because it doesn't have 10 to 12 sets, or excuse me, 10 to 12 different exercises. Mind you, this isn't like a full body thing. This would be upper body being 10 to 12 exercises, a lower body workout being a 10 to 12 exercises. So that's one. Then second, it'll typically be rep ranges. I just feel like, somewhere between 6 to 10 reps. I don't know that that's really going to get it done for me. I typically do somewhere around 15 to 20 reps for all my exercises. And then the last one would typically be the number of sets that are in the workout itself. I'm used to doing 5 to 6 sets of everything. So I'd say those are probably the three things. So amount of exercises, the number of sets, and the number of reps. So if I have the opportunity to, where they'll give me a chance to kind of re-engage them on the execution of the training, spend a few minutes just going over understanding what it means to actually work up to your working sets, your sets that feel pretty difficult. Then also conversation will usually involve some sort of talk about RIR, which is reps in reserve, and RPE, which is rate of perceived exertion. So how many reps you're basically leaving in the tank. So we talk about training intensity, how familiar they may be with that. So typically when we start with those two concepts, and then I'll ask them to apply those two concepts for the first 2 weeks of the training program. Say if you give me 2 weeks where you really apply those particular principles as best as you can based on where you are right now, do that consistently over a 2-week period, and then let's regroup and let's see what we've got going on. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes folks just don't get back to me. And then on the other hand, though, the ones who do get back to me, 9.95 times out of 10, they're like, oh snap, I see what we were doing here. Like, I totally get it now. And there's just this whole refreshing, just reinvigoration, I don't know if that's the word, just they all of a sudden have this like crazy experience where like I am now questioning how I've been lifting my whole life, because for the most part I'm working with folks, whether it be one-on-one or in a group setting like I'm about to really get into soon. I'm working with folks who aren't brand new to lifting weights, whether it be in like a group exercise class setting, whether it be they've been doing stuff on their own or they've had personal trainers even before. That's not uncommon at all. So I say all that just to say that's what's on my mind this morning is, the workout being hard is not specifically all about what it looks like, it's in the execution itself. So, as you are looking at your training program, um, really take a look at the effort and the intensity that you're putting into not just each and every set, I'm talking like each and every rep. Like, how much focus and intensity are you giving to the execution of that particular program prior to deciding, oh, well, this doesn't look difficult enough? Because I can tell you, especially in my earlier days, it is not difficult for a trainer, a coach, to write a program that looks difficult, to write exercises either from a volume standpoint or from an execution standpoint that are going to look different. Like, it's not hard to make a movement feel like it's complex by having you stand on one foot with one knee raised and then also overhead pressing while also, holding a dumbbell out in your other arm. It's not hard to do that at all and make things look like they're difficult. I'm going to give away the secret that's not really a secret. The difficulty is typically in the execution. All right, so at this point, we have pulled up to the gym. So that's the end of this episode that is for sure going to have awful lighting and all sorts of stuff. And I'm not really doing it for the production value. I'm just doing it to share a couple things. So thanks for tuning in. Gonna go work out, and we'll catch you next time.